Hello, Hospitality MD listeners. Welcome back to another episode. Today, joining us is Paula Carreirão. She is a content writer and hospitality expert at Asksuite, the global leader in hotel chatbot focused on direct bookings. Having worked as a hotelier for 7 years, she now enjoys writing about hospitality and the benefits of technology and artificial intelligence in the hotel industry. I am so happy to have her on the show. Paula, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. I'm pretty excited.
Absolutely. So I am kind of, after reading over your background, I'm absolutely fascinated in what you've done. You call yourself a multi-potentialite, which is the first time I've ever heard that word. So thanks for enlightening me on that. So for those of us who don't know what that means, what is that? What is a multi-potentialite?
Yeah, I actually only found out about it that actually have this word and this category of personality, let's say, 2 years ago around, and it actually means that this person likes a lot of different things, have many interests, so it's really hard to just keep doing the same thing over and over or to follow a career as you could check in my background that it's I change fields a lot, and that it's like it's people that like to learn things all the time, like a lot of things. It's not that we don't like things, we actually like a lot of things. And yeah, and then you I used to get very frustrated before I found out that I have more people like me out there, because well, my dad is a doctor, so oh, what you gonna be when you grow up? Oh, I'm gonna be a doctor. And then he's a doctor like all his life, and that was not my case. And I was like, oh my god, I'm a failure, because I'm changing all the time. And then yeah, so then I found out that have a lot of people like me out there, and it's very, I think it's quite valuable right now to be like this, because things change all the time. You have to learn things all the time. It's really really fast, everything. So if you have this kind of personality that you really enjoys learning new things all the time, I think it's great. It's a great time to be like me, I think.
I completely agree with you. I think, granted, I love hospitality, and that's where, my interest has been for a very long time. But even within hospitality, I find myself always wanting to try a new property or see, new experiences or meet different people and whatever. So I think I can relate to you a lot in that. Now, speaking of your background, which is very interesting, if you would mind just with telling us a little bit about your background and kind of who you are as a person.
Okay, I will try to make it short and pain free for the listeners, because like you said before, it is an interesting background, I think, but it's a bit confusing sometimes. But anyway, let's start when I graduate. I have a bachelor degree in psychology, and it feels like it was 10,000 years ago. So once upon a time, I used to work as a psychologist, and but just after my graduation, after I got my degree, I moved to Sweden actually, and I lived there for 5 years. And when I got to Sweden, I didn't know the language, so how can I actually work as a psychology if I don't even can speak the language? It's like, yeah, it's not possible. So that's when I started actually experimenting different things, different jobs, just to get some money. But anyway, eventually I learned the language, and I now speak Swedish. And I got a job in a psychiatrist hospital actually, and and it was really interesting experience for sure. I would never ever guess that I would be in a psychiatric hospital in Sweden if you asked me like 20 years ago. But anyway, I worked there for like almost 2 years, and when I came back to Brazil, I was like, okay, I don't want psychology anymore. I do like studying psychology. I don't want to work as a psychologist. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And hospitality just came into my life like unexpected. Was actually a friend of mine that knew hostel owner, and she was looking for someone that could, be there in the front desk and could speak some language. And I was okay. I'm not doing anything, and I'm sorry, hoteliers. It was not really my. It was an accident, but it was a really, really nice action. I'm really happy that happened to me. Anyway, so I was okay. I'm gonna give a try, and I started working in the front desk in a hostel in Rio, and it was an amazing experience. One of the best ones I have to say. It's completely different from, I don't know, what I was used to, and I've learned so much. And yeah, then I got into the hospitality world, and I stayed there. I stayed in the hotel industry for almost 7 years. So then I slowly went. I go up a little bit, and then I start being. I went from front desk. First, I was a front desk agent. Then I went to reservations. Then I went to general manager of a very small hotel boutique. So it's completely different from the hostel that I was before, like when I started. But anyway, so yeah, and then I stayed for 7 years, and I was happy and all, but I have to admit that I was really tired of the hotelier life. And you know that as good as I do, and everybody that is
Yeah.
listening, it's a tough life, and as a general manager, I made many mistakes that I can make a whole podcast about it. And seriously, and one of them is that I micromanage a lot back then, which meant that I was like every time I was working, and I just couldn't handle it. I was like, okay, I want to have a life. I want to have, a job from Monday to Friday and all that. So I decided it was time for me to move again, to change careers again. And yeah, then I found found Asksuite actually on LinkedIn, also by accident. Let's say it was just there in the feed, and they are a hotel tech company. And I thought, well, I actually can help there because I was a hotelier, so I can relate to the problems, hoteliers face and all that. And I think it back then was it is a chatbot, and back then chatbots were not so popular. As you know, the hotel industry and technology, they still fight sometimes. And yeah, so I thought this was a great tool. I wanted to be involved in this revolution, that we call that it's customer service and all that, automated customer service and all that. So I just applied for the job. I didn't know much. I just focused on what I could bring to the company, which was my perspective as a hotelier. And yeah, they said yes, and actually started in sales, which is also completely like different. Anyway, I stay only for like 8 months. I was not such a good salesperson, I have to admit. And they knew from the beginning that I want marketing. And when they have the chance, the company grew a lot, and I said, yeah, I want to gonna change now again, but inside of the same company. And now I am in content marketing. Well, I talk a lot. I'm so sorry.
No,
Should
I
I
think
come?
that was fascinating, and it provided a lot of kind of insight onto how you got to where you are now. So I definitely want to kind of dissect each piece of that a little bit. So your psychology background is fascinating to me. I love psychology. I mean, I took like a class in high school on it, but I think it's awesome. And the fact that you were able to move to a completely different country after graduating with your degree, you didn't know the language, but you worked at a essentially a mental hospital, right? That's what this was a
Yeah.
hospital for psychiatric patients. And while learning the language, you had to kind of manage them and sort of navigate that. Do you have any interesting stories you can remember from your time at the hospital? Like something that stands out to you?
Oh, for sure. I do have one that it actually also something that I learned for life that happened to me there and definitely helped me a lot in hospitality afterwards. Is that, well, like I said, I started working in this hospital with psychotic patients, right? So they would come in the middle of the crisis, and then I was very unsure that okay, I'm gonna help them because I don't even know if I'm understanding them properly. And I had a colleague that was always with me, and I always checked with her, like, okay, is this making sense? Or is it just me that I can't understand what they are saying, right? Because they were in the middle of the psychosis, so it it was like that. And that's when I found out. I think it was after a week working, because I could speak Swedish already back then, but it is different when it's not your native language, and I didn't know have many slangs that I didn't know, and or nuances of the language. To read between lines is different from different countries and cultures and all that. So I always double check, and I was very feeling very insecure about my performance because of that, right? And then one day, this to get to this one day, a patient that he was already medicated, so he was he could he was able to have a conversation, So he stopped talking to me, and then I did understand something that he said. Like I didn't understand because my Swedish was not good enough, not because of him. And then I asked him back, and like, oh, what do you mean? What is that? And he thought was so funny and strange. I don't know. He liked it that I didn't understand, because it's like we changed positions, and then he helped me instead of me helping him, you know. And then I realized that sometimes your what you think is your weakness or your biggest fear, especially when you start something new, it can be a strength, because this made me connect with him and connect to the other patients, because they saw me, oh, she's a bit different like us, kind of. So and then communication, it's not just words. Communications are connections, right? If you don't connect, you're not communicating. I mean, and this is goes to hospitality, goes to marketing, and goes to psychology. So yeah, that was a lesson that I've learned and completely changed my mindset. And to all the next challenge that I have is in hospitality, for example, I started knowing nothing, nada, and I didn't know check-in process, nothing technical. I just like to talk, was basically that, like you can see now. So yeah, and I was really scared when my first day at the front desk. I think everybody that's listening can relate to that too. This craziness that it's in lines in front of you, and you're like, oh my god, what I do. And yeah, I don't know. I just think about it. Well, Paula, you worked in a psychiatry hospital in Sweden, and you managed to connect with, like, this was for me was the ultimate challenge. So if I can do that, okay, just go for it. And yeah, that's one of the experience in the psychiatry hospital that I always remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you have probably countless stories of that place. I mean, every day I'm sure was a new adventure, but as is hotels and hospitality too, just like you've had all these experiences at the psychiatric hospital, that same, kind of every day is something new. That same excitement can apply in the hotel world as well. And I really, really, really like that story, by the way. You were able to be vulnerable with that patient and show them that, hey, just because I'm here kind of taking care of you and looking after you and trying to help you doesn't mean that I'm better than you, or that doesn't mean that I'm smarter than you, or superior to you in any way. I'm still a human being, and we can all help each other. And That's very, very nice and very beautiful.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So, from there, you moved back to Brazil, right? And then started in hotels. So you started in hotel. How did it feel for you to be able to provide hospitality to guests? Like, do you remember kind of like, you mentioned your first day at the front desk, right? You're nervous, you have lines and everything like that, but you like to talk and you like to connect with people. Do you remember kind of how that felt to bring that skill to the front desk and to show hospitality to others?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like to be a psychologist and to be a front desk agent, they are not so different. You do provide care, you do want the to provide a good experience in the essence of it, right? So, yeah, when I started in the hospitality and the hotel industry, um, it does feel really good to know when you actually make a difference in someone's experience or stay. I don't know about you. It's not about ego, but it's about knowing that you provide value. So example like TripAdvisor. The first time ever someone said, "Oh, thank you, Paula, for your kindness or whatever," eh, or go to the front desk and say to you, that is the motivation. I think for me it was, and that was saying to me that I was doing a good job, especially in the beginning. That, like I said, I didn't know much about the procedures and could mess up a little bit there and there with the PMS or whatever, but it didn't affect my relation to the guests, and that's the most important. The guests will remember much more the relation they are having with the hotel staff than, I don't know, some mistake that was not such a big deal. So I see when people talk about my background, and I do too, I tend to do that. It's like, oh, it's so different and confusing, but for me, it's like a line, and it's all connected. And it felt it did felt really good, because then, of course, when you are in psychology, you're providing care to someone that needs care. Someone, you're helping someone in a difficult situation. When you're in a guest, of course, it's the opposite. It's completely the opposite. They are in a good mood, let's say, and you want to make it even better. So it is a different
Right.
mindset, of course, but for me they are very much similar, in the way that I used to provide, at least,
Yeah,
service, let's say.
definitely. Because I like the sentiment that you mentioned about, you know, kind of trying to remove your ego from the situation when you're speaking with guests or you're in, just connecting with somebody. Have you witnessed people in the places that you've worked kind of lead with an egotistical mindset, and have you seen that be successful or not so successful for them? Like, do you have any comparisons to somebody else who maybe has used more of their ego to lead them through their hospitality career?
Yeah, well, definitely I saw some general managers, especially out there. They are they are much more about me, and like the ego thing that you were talking about. It's not the ego. It affects not only the relation. I was saying, talking about the relationship you have with guests, but also, of course, with the team, right? So I do not think it's possible to be actually successful, like in terms not of money, but successful as being respected and doing a great job, if you have a big ego. I don't think it's possible. I don't think that's possible. And I think it's also, one thing that I've learned, actually, is that people misunderstand ego with being ambitious, or I think you have to be. I'm an ambitious person. I want to grow. Develop, and that doesn't mean that I don't think I'm egocentric, and it doesn't make me think that I'm better than others. I just want to get better in the comparison to me, which is completely different. And I think people misunderstand that attitude and that concept a lot. And yeah, definitely hospitality. I saw, like I said, many general managers that it did go to that road. They went to that road, and yeah, they were not, in my eyes, they were not successful. Maybe they were general managers, but the team would not respect them, or the guests were, I don't know, they did their job, but they were not mentionable. I don't know if I have a word for that, but yeah, they were
Yeah,
not
no,
worth
that
to
makes a
mention.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, did you find that you had that problem as a general manager? Because you said that in your time, you found that you were having to micromanage your staff and you felt like you just couldn't get away, you couldn't take a break because you were constantly wanting to make sure that your team was doing everything right. Do you think that you fell victim to your ego as a time as a general manager?
Oh yeah, for sure. Pretty. I know that. I know that afterwards, but because back then I just honestly thought that I was doing the best that I could, and that I did. I did grow up with. It has a culture that says, we have a saying that says, if you want something done it right, you should do yourself. This is very that was very inside of me, this. So I wanted to, like, to control and to do everything, because I wanted everything to be perfect, and I did not think that that was affecting, of course, the team, because they thought, okay, why you have to double check everything? And now I understand that, but back then, no, I was blind. Why you're doing that? 'Cause you don't trust me. And it was not because, for me, it was not because of, I didn't see it as a trust issue. I just seemed like, okay, just wanted to be really, really, really good. And that was really like a huge, the biggest mistake I made, because not only the team, of course, was not happy with me, as you can imagine, after a while. And when I realized I was doing that, and I said, okay, this is not good. That's not good for me. I don't have a life. It's not good for them. They're not happy. It's not good for anybody here. How can I change? And then I realized the second mistake, well, the second consequence of this mistake is that it is really hard to change a dynamic. That for me was really, really hard. It's like, okay, I want to change now. I want to do things differently, but how am I going to motivate these people that were working with me before, that how I will convince them that we're going to work in another way? And yeah, that was really, really, really tough, I think. And I applaud who
Yeah.
can do this transition in the same job, because for me was almost impossible to say, honestly.
Yeah, because people, they tend to remember the bad. Like if you do one bad thing, it probably takes 10 or 15 good things to even like get even with that bad thing that you did, especially when you're a leader and in a hotel, the general manager of the entire team. Was there a moment that you realized that you needed to change? Was it something that happened or a specific instance?
Oh yeah, was this was when I realized that I was doing a lot of operational things, because I wanted to do. No one forced me, and I was the general manager. And I was like, okay, why I'm doing this? I do have people, they're very talented, you know they can do that. And why I'm taking this tasks, I mean, just because I want to do, well, then it clicked me when I, of course, I think when it hurts you, it you get it, and then it starts hurting my life. And then I saw, okay, this is not a good way of management. I'm doing everything wrong. And then, of course, I could like I said, I could do the whole podcast about it, but you tend to recreate the models of management that you've seen, you know, and that, like I said, I didn't study hospitality or anything like that. So what I learned from other general managers that I worked with, and I thought that is the way of doing things, and that was actually one of the reasons that I decided to not only to get out of hospitality, but also to get out of this model of management. I wanted to do something different. I want to work with an entire different environment where we're not upside, I think say upside down. Yeah, no, not upside down, up to down, I don't know. Things from
Yeah.
come from the top down. Yes. So I wanted to do something different, and that's why I'm working a startup. Of Asksuite is a startup, and we the management model is much more horizontal, and people participate in the decisions and all that. And at least my experience in hospitality in the hotel industry were not like this. It was like, you have your boss and your boss, and it goes down. And yeah, I wanted to break that because I saw what I was becoming. I was not liking, and I was okay, I need to experience something different so I can develop and work in a
Yeah.
good environment for me.
And I think hotels. Have you worked in the United States at a hotel, or just
No,
okay? So it's
no.
very similar actually in the way that you described a very vertical, top-down chain of command. Uh, Hotels in the United States are exactly the same, very similar in that very corporate environments to be in, even at the property level. And I've certainly had frustrations with that myself. When feeling like, oh, I want to do this but I can't because I have to go through 10 other people to try and get something done. But yeah, now you are at Asksuite, you're at a startup. um, have you found that that's been kind of what you were looking for, kind of a combination of being able to utilize your skills in psychology, which I'm sure you can kind of relate that to how to market best to different people and what people want to see and think, and the skills that you utilize in hospitality to be able to relate to your clients, but without having the thick kind of corporate hierarchy that exists in hotels. Have you enjoyed it so far?
Oh yeah, I'm very, very happy. I'm not just saying that to be to look good for my boss. No, it's not that. It actually it is true. I'm happy, like I said, with the whole environment of Ask Suite. It is completely different. I thought maybe I'm gonna get disappointed, because people talk about startups and oh, it's such a great world, unicorns and all that. But it is possible, of course, have this challenge, have a lot of challenge for sure. But in terms of management style, I found what I was looking for. We totally, we do have, of course, like a head of the section. Yeah, you do have some kind of uh, how you say, like positions, but it is much more talking, and you are included in the decisions than it was what I had before, at least in the hotel industry. And as my role now in content marketing, yeah, I totally see, like I said, yeah, my background is different, but for me, they do have uh, they do have like a roadmap. I don't know, and I can join everything now in what I'm doing, because content marketing is basically, you have to be creative, so you learn a lot all the time, which I said in the beginning, I really like. It's not a boring job at all. You don't just do the same thing over and over. You create different kind of content, not just blog posts, and you have podcasts like yourself, like you're doing, and webinars too, and all that. I talk about different subjects. I do different topics. Sorry. So yeah, I talk a lot about technology, of course, but we basically talk about anything that can happen hoteliers, from management styles and, yes, technology or trends, a lot of things we talk about. I get to write or talk about. So it is very it's very, it's a complete, how can I say, it's a whole experience, because I get the creativity and the learning thing that I like. I get the psychology, like you said, because I do have to understand the hoteliers, and then I have the experience as a hotelier, so that of course makes easier. So yeah, for me, content marketing right now and where I am, it is a perfect match. It is.
Yeah, and I think it's been cool to see, because I think I don't really remember how long you and I have been connected, but it feels like it's been a little bit of time, and I've seen kind of, you know, recently you've been able to have some really cool like guests on your podcast for Asksuite. Like I listened to your interview with Glenn Hausman, which was really cool, and you had David Araya on there, and like, you're almost, making that company a little bit more valuable by being able to just bring people on, even if you don't talk about Ask Suite at all during that show, just to be like, hey, we're talking to people and you can learn from them so you can apply that to your, main part of your job. So I'm glad to see kind of your show and your content growing a little bit and getting more recognition and more high profile guests. So that's really cool to see. For those who don't know, because I think this will be helpful for my next question, but tell me a little bit about Ask Suite and what it is that the purpose of that is for hoteliers.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for all the for listening to the podcast and for the compliments you gave me. I do follow your work as well, and I know I listen to David Araya. I really like him. If he's listening to us now, hey David. Saw that you also interview Christine. Christine is also such a Christine
Oh,
Trippi.
yes.
She is amazing, and yeah, I'm very lucky to have connected with these extraordinary professionals. And like you said, the content we create, content marketing is not just selling. It is about providing information about a topic, and it's very broad. Ask Suite, like your question was what Ask Suite does and all that. Ask Suite is a hotel tech company, so we provide technology for hotels all over the world. We are now in over 14 countries, if I'm not mistaken. And we develop a chatbot for specifically for the hotel industry, and we have a lot of features, functionalities for the hotel industry, like integrations with booking engines and capturing leads, and well, have many. So yeah, so we started as a chatbot for hotels, and sorry, we develop a little bit more to a platform omni-channel. So it's not only that you have a chatbot, but your hotel also have a one screen customer service um, control. So, if a chatbot is in a website or in Facebook or WhatsApp, you can see everything from there. So it's a management tool. And we are very happy because we did one this year's. When I say we are the best chatbot in the world, it's not me saying. We did won the Hotel Tech Award, so we were very happy with that. As best live chat and chatbot for hotels. So yeah, so we are all over the world right now, and we are doing great partnerships too. So integrations, and it's a lot going on actually. Even though, of course, the industry felt the heat now, but yeah, we managed to keep going. So
Well, and I think that also kind of further further hammers in the importance of the extra content that you're doing, like the podcast and everything, to stay relevant, because a lot of hotels may not be willing to invest in extra, you know, kind of luxury expenses like implementing new procedures like that. But it does sound like you guys are doing great, which is awesome. And you kind of briefly mentioned this, but the hotel industry, right? I guess historically has been slow to adopt new technology. Um, I mean, we can see this. I'm sure you've used some very antiquated property management systems, and just in general has been slow to adopt new technology. Why do you think that is? And do you think that we can remedy that as an industry?
Yeah, well, I actually worked. I'm not so young and not so old, let's say, but I actually work in the hotel. It was small inn actually that didn't have even a PMS, and it was like Excel sheets. Like, oh my god, that was
Oh,
horrible.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, but it was a small one. But still, you think it's like, okay, it's only like 14 rooms. No, it is not okay, because then you spend so much time doing these things that actually have softwares to do it. So why are you gonna spend your most valuable resource, which is the human resource, in things that machines can do and can do better in that specific task? So yeah, the hotel industry, it is, I agree with you, it is more traditional, and I think it's because it is a field that it's very connected with the human. Of course, if you think about hospitality, you don't think a robot saying hello. You think something warm. Yeah, you do think coziness, and so I think that's one part of the equation here, and the other part is that I don't know. That happens a lot in the hotel industry, but you can see in other areas as well. To change is not easy. To change a procedure is not. We tend to go against it because we think that, well, it's working. Why I'm gonna change it? But the thing is, if you analyze it, maybe it's not working, and maybe it's not working as well as you could. So I think hoteliers is they still, before the pandemic, I want to point out, before the pandemic, they were still very hesitating in adopting technology. They thought either they would lose the human contact that I said, the quality of the service as well. So PMS, I think everybody uses it, but some technology, like you said, is still considered like luxurious or nice to have and not must have. And I think with the pandemic, it shows that they are must have. First of all, because of the demand now that it's contactless, and making everything more safe than ever. So technology helps a lot in that area, that that aspect. And also because unfortunately many hoteliers lost the job, so hotels have to downsize, and you have one staff now where you have three or something like that, and you still have to be productive. You're gonna have to handle the service, right? So if you have to, I don't know, answer emails, I know I did that. I think I answer like 100 emails a day, and it was basically copy pasting and just changing one thing, or date or something like that. And you make mistakes because in your like the 20th, and you're
Right.
like, oh no, I sent the wrong room price, oh my god. And it happens. And if you have a software that can do that, great. And in customer service, it happens too when you're texting to, I don't know, send a text in Facebook, and you have to text back because everybody knows that if your hotel don't answer, you're probably gonna lose the reservation. No one gonna wait for you unless you already have some kind of recommendation, or there are very special cases. But now, what we do, we look, see a list. Oh, we try this, try that. Okay, he answered me faster, and you have this, and okay, that's good. So you have to answer fast your potential guests. So you're gonna lose it. So in customer service, also you cannot like spend a lot of time answering. And okay, I'm gonna send like no one books anything without at least a picture, right? And then if you don't have like a chatbot or something like that, you're gonna have to manually, okay, what is the picture, and then go back, and then it doesn't work. But even if you don't have much, they're gonna say, oh, but now it doesn't have much demand. Yeah, but then you have also not much staff, and you you have a whole bunch of other things that you have to do, and they need you much more. You should be doing like strategies. You should be doing how can I make this experience better, and not just answering, do you allow pets or something like that. So yeah, so we are very happy that we are helping so many hotels, especially right now. And we are of course happy that I think many hoteliers, they're gonna have to be open to technology. If they weren't before, this is the time, and this is a great time to test and to analyze. I'm not saying that, oh, you should have all the technology. No, analyze what is good for you. Where is your gap? Oh, is this what you have, what you don't, where you can. It's not just saying, please, no, buy everything. No, it's not. I think you should analyze your case, and where you where you want to go and where you can improve. And you're definitely going to find some really good tools out there that can help you, especially now that we all need help.
Yeah, definitely. Because, to your point, people resist and they say, oh, well, it's not warm. It's not a human connection. It's not that. But if you think about, hospitality is giving the consumer, giving the guest, giving whatever the fellow human being, prioritizing what they want. And to your point, when somebody's booking a hotel, in this case, they don't want to spend a week trying to figure out that detail. They just want to be like, okay, we just want to get this done, book the hotel, who's going to respond, like promptness, quickness. People's pace of life is much faster than it once
Yeah.
was. So you have to be able to match that and level up to that. And I guess for the little demand that is out there right now, you'd probably want to capture that if the opportunity is out there, and versus letting somebody who's quicker than you get that business and get that limited demand.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. No, yeah, you're totally right. I mean, you can. When I talk to hotelier, I have many friends that are hoteliers still, and then they're like, and then when they were reluctant, like, oh, I'm gonna use a chatbot. Oh, okay, I prefer to get a service by a good chatbot that will answer me fast, than to have, oh, what I want. They want human. No, I don't want a human that takes 30 minutes to answer a text. I sorry, you can be great, but I don't have the time. Like you said, we don't have the time. No traveler gonna be waiting for you. And if they don't book with your competitor, they will probably book with the OTA, because there is easier. There's a get letter, and so you're gonna lose anyway. So yeah, I think I think it was starting, the hotel industry starting to realize how time response is important for bookings, and how technology is important for revenue and all that. And with the pandemic now, like I said, we're seeing like they okay, I admit, I have to reconsider this because I'm not gonna make it. And yes, it's few demand right now, but you, like you said, and very good point, it's few demand, so you don't have the luxury of missing that opportunity. You, if you have someone asking you what is your price, or if you're open or whatever, you have to answer fast, because it's not gonna appear many of them right now, unfortunately. So you have to do your best right away.
Yeah, definitely. And very well said. Thank you so much for, sharing that part of it, because I think a lot of people now are starting to realize that the old playbook of how to run a hotel and how to, operate a hospitality organization. You kind of have to tear it up and start over to a certain extent. Now, one last question I want to ask you before we wrap up today is, if you could remember the first time you felt hospitality, the first time that somebody provided that to you, do you remember or have anything that comes to mind?
Well, it was when I was a child, actually. Is that count? I don't know if that answer your question, but we
No,
used to
that
go.
counts. Yeah, definitely.
We used to go as a family trip, to a hotel there in south of Brazil, and they really had a really good team for the kids, which I was one of them. And I simply I just forget about my parents. Seriously, they were so um I don't know how to say it. They're so caring, and I could feel like they were happy to be with me. I think that's the key too. If you think like someone's just there because they have to be there, especially when you're a kid, you won't like it, right? No, or out that you think. I mean, if you go to a front desk and you see someone that's like, oh yeah, we have this, and like a robot, you won't like it, right? Humans being acting like robots is no good. So yeah, so that for me, hospitality was the. I think it's cliche, but I can't think about anything else. But it makes you feel like important and special, and they're enjoying being with you, that it's not just a job, that they're actually liking what you're doing. I think that for me was the key in that, and I really loved that hotel. I think we came there 3 times. And yeah.
That's awesome that you can still remember the way you felt from that staff like
Yeah.
so many years after the fact. Well, Paula, I thank you so much for being with us on the show. I think we had a great conversation. And for those listening, we will have Paula's LinkedIn profile in the show notes for today. We'll also include the Asksuite information and website as well in our show notes for today. So for anybody who's interested in checking out her program, can take a look at it. And Paula, thank you so much again for your contributions to the hospitality industry. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Kyle. And sorry if I talk too much and that I did make mistakes in English. So sorry, but yeah, I
No,
hope you all
actually,
enjoyed.
Paula, you didn't. To me, I was able to understand everything you were saying perfectly, and I think you spoke a lot, but it was a lot of value that you brought. So thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, again, and congratulations you too on your content that you create. It's really, really good, and I follow your work, like I said before, and just keep doing it, please. We need you.
Thank you. We won't let anybody down. We'll keep going with it.